5 hard interview questions that fail many applicants on their residency interview. These questions are designed to put applicants under pressure and help differentiate among the different applicants. So if you have a residency or a fellowship interview coming up, you don't want to miss this tutorial. We'll start the video by telling you about these 5 hard questions, and then I will give you examples to answer these questions. Before we get started, if you need access to our 200 residency interview questions and sample answers to these questions, make sure to sign up through the link that I'll leave in the description below. And I'll also leave the link for our interview preparation if you would like to sign up one-on-one with one of our experts. Now, the first question we're going to talk about today is, what is your biggest weakness? This is a very tricky question because you don't want to answer something that might not qualify you for a residency spot. And you also have to pick a weakness that you're working actively on improving. So that's why answering this question is very tricky, and you want to turn it from a question that hurts your chances of matching into residency to an answer that shows maturity and how you're trying to work on your weaknesses. The second question is, why should we choose you for this residency spot? This question is extremely important because you want to sell yourself as the perfect fit for this residency spot without sounding too arrogant. So you have to summarize your skills and experiences with what the program is looking for. The third question is, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? This is another question that can show maturity of your goals and what you're trying to achieve after training in this program. And that is another extremely important question to tailor to what program are you applying for. Because for example, if you say that I want to become an academic physician and do basic science research, and you're applying to a program that does not have any of that infrastructure, they don't have any labs, then you won't be perceived as a good fit for this program. The same applies for fellowship aspirations after training in certain programs. So that's why you need to do very extensive research on the alumni of this program and what the program mission is, and see if you can fit it with your career goals. The fourth question is about a negative thing on your CV, such as a long gap from graduation, failed step 1 or step 2 CK, or a low step 2 CK score. You also have to be careful when answering these questions because you want to acknowledge this drawback, but what will define if you succeed answering this question is how are you addressing this drawback and what are you doing currently or have done recently to overcome it. And in this way, you can change a drawback that might disqualify you from ranking high at this program to showing maturity and how you try to overcome your hardships by working harder. And the final question we're going to talk about today is, tell me about a conflict you faced and how did you handle it? Now, before we go to the answers of these questions, if you'd like to get one-on-one session with one of our expert interviewers, go ahead and check out the interview preparation service by the Match Guy, where you can get as many sessions as you like, and the session is divided into half mock session as if you're interviewing with a program director, and the other half is feedback about your performance. You can also get access to your advisor on WhatsApp and get written feedback about your performance. And what makes this service unique is that you get to choose who your advisor will be. So after you sign up, we'll send you a list of the different advisors you have, and you will choose the advisor based on your specialty and the preference for their background. And another very unique thing is the ability to ask for a full refund if you're not satisfied with the service. That's how much we trust our advisors and the amazing service they will provide. So if you'd like to talk to our customer support team to take you through the different packages we have and how we can best help you, you can schedule a free consultation, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below, or you can go ahead and sign up for the service, explore the different packages we have by clicking on the link in the card above or the link in the description below. Now I'll go ahead and give you sample answers to these questions I discussed. And we'll start with, tell me about your weaknesses. By nature, I've always been on the shyer side. In group discussions or meetings, I've often find myself holding back, reluctant to voice my opinions or concerns. This fear of potential conflict or disagreement made me avoid situations where I'd have to be assertive. While it did save me from immediate confrontations, I realized over time that it also meant my thoughts and perspectives weren't being heard. In the medical field, where collaboration and communication are essential, I knew this was a hurdle I had to overcome. To address this head-on, I decided to step outside of my comfort zone and take on roles that required me to be more vocal and assertive. I volunteered for leadership positions, becoming the president of the internal medicine interest group at my school. This position meant that I had to lead discussions, organize events, and address concerns from other members. It was challenging, yes, but it was also incredibly rewarding to see the difference I could make when I stepped up. So you can see how this answer is providing the interviewer with a real weakness, but also how you're working hard and getting out of your comfort zone to address it. Also, being shy is not an extremely negative trait that would disqualify you from residency. So that's why you have to be very careful about this weakness that you pick. Now let's go and answer the question, why should we pick you? If I had to summarize that answer in 3 traits, I would say my clinical skills, my research skills, and my ability to work in a team. Prior to moving to the US, I finished 2 years of clinical training in India. The high volume of patients, the high level of autonomy, and low resources trained me to work under pressure, manage patients efficiently, and significantly improved my clinical skills. I also got great exposure to the healthcare system in the US because I did 4 elective rotations here in which I functioned as a US medical student. When it comes to research, I spent a full year at the Mayo Clinic studying the outcomes of exercise on patients with chronic kidney disease. That exposure gave me the ability to start research projects from the idea level and taking it through the different steps until publication. And that is something I would like to continue doing during my residency here. And finally, my ability to work in teams. I've always enjoyed working in teams during my rotations, during my medical school, during my research time at the Mayo Clinic, but an experience I would like to highlight is an event I organized to provide polio vaccines for patients in rural areas of India. I had to work with over 100 medical students and college students, get sponsoring from industry, and also work with the school leadership. And this ability to work in teams will serve me well during my residency time. As you can see, the applicants highlighted very important characteristics when answering this question. Always mention your clinical skills. Because remember, at the end of the day, residency is a clinical job. So you want to present yourself as clinically fit for this job in addition to whatever characteristics you want to highlight. Teamwork is always a great skill to have because you're always working in teams in healthcare. And research, if a program focuses on research, that's also something you can mention if you've done that. But there are so many other characteristics you can highlight based on your experiences. Now let's move on to the question about your career goals. Well, I've given this a lot of thought. Right off the bat, my immediate goal is to match into a solid internal medicine residency program. I'm particularly looking for a place that truly values resident education and has a genuine focus on wellness. It's important for me to be in an environment where learning and well-being are at the forefront. While I'm still navigating my specific path, I'm leaning towards cardiology or infectious disease for a fellowship. And if I'm looking a decade down the line, I picture myself in a busy academic teaching hospital. I'm passionate about both clinical work and research, so I see myself balancing dynamic clinical practice while also being actively involved in research projects. On top of that, I've always been drawn to teaching and mentoring. I can definitely see myself in a role like a residency program director or maybe even an associate program director where I can have a direct impact on guiding the next generation of doctors. That's the dream for me. Now for our 4th question, let's go and see a sample answer from an applicant who has a long gap from graduation. As an international medical graduate, I finished residency back in my home country and had to work for 3 years to be able to save some money to afford coming to the US. I'm also the sole supporter of my family financially. However, I was involved in clinical work during all that time. When I moved to the US, I took the time to gain relevant experience in the US healthcare system. I completed an internal medicine observership at a community hospital in New York, where I worked closely with attending physicians, and a cardiology observership at a clinic in Miami, where I learned about managing chronic cardiovascular conditions. Additionally, I worked as a research assistant at a university hospital focusing on diabetes management. These experiences enhanced my clinical skills and understanding of the US healthcare system, and I think have made me a more well-rounded candidate for your residency. As you can see, the applicant explained why they had this gap and what they were doing during that time. Now let's move on to answering the conflict question. During my research year, I set up a collaboration with another lab to help us with histology staining for my project. As the research progressed, it became apparent that the work required from the collaborating lab was a bit more than initially anticipated, but we assumed that this was a good thing as the project was turning out nicely. Originally, we agreed that the graduate student in the lab would be the middle author. However, because of all the extra work that was done, she reached out to me requesting first authorship. At first, I was like, wait a minute, I've been leading this. But then we sat down, had a coffee, and really talk it through. She showed me all the work that she's done, and it hit me. She totally deserved that recognition. So we settled on both of us being co-first authors to get the recognition we both deserved. It felt right, and it was a great lesson for me in valuing everyone's input. We're actually collaborating on more projects now, and I'm very glad we resolved this. This experience taught me that you can resolve conflict by really listening to people and seeing where they're coming from. And you can most of the time reach a common ground to resolve disagreements. And as I promised in the beginning of this video, if you'd like to get access to our 200 plus residency interview questions and sample answers to these questions, go ahead and sign up through the link that I'll leave in the card above or the link in the description below. Put your name and email and you will receive these resources directly to your inbox fully for free. And if you need one-on-one help from our advisors who are experts in the residency and fellowship interview process, go ahead and explore the different packages that we have by clicking on the link in the card above or the link in the description below. I hope this video helps you ace these 5 hard residency interview questions. If you find any value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell sign so you get notified whenever I post future videos on my YouTube channel. Now before you go, make sure to check out the extremely useful tutorial I recorded with one of our advisors, and you can watch it by clicking here. Thank you so much for watching and good luck on your interview.